This is the Garmin Edge 130 Plus. This was released in the middle of last year and it bolsters Garmin's bottom end of its cycling computer, taking over from its predecessor, the Edge 130. Now it's more of an evolution than a revolution. It picks up some new features that increases the device's versatility whilst retaining those that made its older model so popular. This costs £169.99p, and today in this review I'm going to tell you exactly why I think it's so good. So I'm going to begin by opening up the box and showing you exactly what you get inside when you buy this product. The first thing you find is, of course, the Edge 130 Plus. No major redesigns here. Garmin is sticking with a tried and tested design, and I'll go into that a little bit later on. You, of course, get a micro USB cable. Everyone must have about 1,000 of these now, but it is included in the box still. And you get some rubber bunged standard handlebar mounts. Now there is a glaring omission from what's in the box. You don't get an out front mount with this device. And that is a real shame because they are a really important way to attach your computer to your bike. So bear that in mind. If you're going to buy this device, you will have to source a different mount separately. So moving on to setup of the device, there's no major change here. You can set up the Edge 130 either on your phone or on the device. You don't need Garmin Connect, the smartphone app, to do it, but I would recommend doing it. It does make it that little bit easier than mashing through the buttons on the device to set it up. So you turn it on and you pair it to your smartphone, and it will sync across the information. Now Garmin have updated this process with a really neat little feature. So if you use other sensors, say a heart rate monitor, power meter, cadence sensor, that type of thing, it'll automatically take that information and port it across to the computer, so you don't manually have to add it. It's really neat and it works really well. It picked up my heart rate monitor straight away and moved it across when I set this device up. And it is a nice little update because in the past, my main criticism with Garmin is that they're slightly complicated to set up. The Garmin Connect app doesn't work brilliantly. It's a little bit counterintuitive. So these strides they're taking to change that are really useful. It also offers to auto transfer across your riding profiles, although this was slightly confusing because the Garmin Edge 130 Plus doesn't offer different riding profiles. It only lets you click on ride. It will then let you choose what category of ride you want to do. But if you compare that to, say, the Edge 830 or the Edge 1030 Plus, you can create different profiles. So that's clearly a feature that's designed for those higher end computers and isn't really relevant here. The final benefit of using your phone to set it up is it will automatically sync all of your rides and put them straight through to Strava or your preferred third-party app. So once all of that's done, the final step is to update the device's data pages to make it look how you want it to look. The Edge 130 Plus doesn't benefit from the auto feature that was given to the top-end models in the summer, so you still have to go onto the device and do it yourself using the buttons. And this can take a little bit of time, and I always say it's worth taking about 20 minutes to half an hour to get it set up how you want it to look when you're riding on the bike. For me, I prefer to load all of my information on the front page. I put 6 data fields on that front page because I'm not one for scrolling, especially when I'm riding along. And then I'll have an additional climbing page and an additional mapping page. It's actually a testament to the great design of this computer that I can squeeze 6 screens onto it and not feel like it's too cramped. So that's a real plus for this. Fans of the Edge 130, including myself, I rated that computer really highly, will be pleased to see that Garmin have made no changes to this design. It still keeps that diminutive 1.8-inch display and the same button-led small frame. It's the smallest computer that Garmin make, and actually, I think it's probably one of the smallest computers available on the market. And honestly, in a world where things keep getting bigger, I think it's really cool that it's small, it's easy to use, and it sits on the front of your bike in a really attractive way. In total, there are 5 buttons, 2 for scrolling up and down on the side, a lap button, a start and stop button, and your power button. Now, once you turn it on, it goes through to the home screen, which is where the ride profile is. It also tells you your GPS strength, if it's connected to your phone, your battery life, the time, and how many sensors it is pairing to or trying to pair to. Now, unlike Garmin's other computers, the Edge 130 Plus is a little bit more simple. It doesn't offer you different ride profiles. You just have the one, which is called Ride. When you're on the home screen, if you press play, it takes you through to select your ride type, and there's a big old list: road, commuting, mountain biking, gravel, cyclocross, indoor, e-bike, e-mountain, absolutely loads. I'm going to hit road, and that takes you through to your data screens that you have here, which you set up when you set the computer up. As is standard on most cycling computers, it charges via a micro USB port on the back that is protected by a rubber bung, and the device itself is rated to an IPX7 water resistance rating. I've used this computer for about half a year now, and I really put it through its paces this winter, and it got filthy, as you can probably see in this video, and it didn't let any water in, and it hasn't suffered any type of damage at all. The biggest change for the Garmin Edge 130 Plus in terms of software is that it now has new mountain biking dynamics. So Garmin have added their software where it counts your jumps, your hang time, so how long you spend in the air, and the distance that you jump. And it's done this by adding an accelerometer into the device itself. This accelerometer also allowed them to add in their safety features such as incident detection. So if you're out on a ride and something should happen to you, it'll automatically buzz your nearest and dearest with an update. There is, however, new software for us roadies. Garmin have given this computer its Climb Pro software. That's where when you plot a route and send it through to the device, it will total how many major climbs you have to do and give you a profile for each of them, letting you know things like how long's left on the climb, average gradient, elevation left to climb, how many climbs you've completed. It gives you a whole load of information, which is really useful if you're using this device somewhere new. Maybe you've gone on holiday to the Alps, or you're doing a big ride with lots of climbing. Just lets you know when to hold back, when to expend your energy, and what to expect from the rest of the ride. It also gets Garmin's Physio True Up, which is where if you happen to use a Garmin watch, I have one on right now, and you run a lot, the two will talk together via the Garmin Connect app, and it'll keep up to date all of your information about how well rested you are, your max heart rate, all of that type of fitness information is all kept together and updated simultaneously. So that's really useful if you're a multi-sport type of user. As you'd expect from a Garmin Edge computer, it's also capable of giving you Strava Live segments, can test your VO2 max, which is quite impressive for such a little computer. And it can also give you turn-by-turn navigational prompts. Although I'm going to talk a little bit about that because it does only use a line map. This isn't given the same detailed map that you might expect on an Edge 830 or an Edge 1030 Plus. So do be prepared that you can upload routes to this. It can tell you where to go. It just won't be in the same type of detail you might get from one of those more expensive computers. In fact, that's really the only sticking point for this smaller computer, that if you do use it to route you and to navigate for yourself, you might want to go for one of those higher end computers just so you get that bit more detail. Just because of its small size, that doesn't mean that the Garmin Edge 130 Plus is anything less of a powerful training tool. It can partner via Bluetooth and ANT Plus to a whole host of training tools, including power meter, cadence and speed sensors, and your heart rate sensors. It can also connect to a smart turbo trainer, and you can control the resistance of that on the device as well. So it's really useful if you want to push your fitness and to train in that way. It makes use of 3 different types of satellite systems. So it uses GPS, it can use Galileo, and it can also use GLONASS. Now, depending on your accuracy, you'll want to go for either Galileo or GLONASS, but bear in mind that will drain your battery life that bit quicker. I've tended to just stick it on GLONASS because I tend to go out for only about 100K or so I don't need to worry about preserving my battery life that much. Now, I've never had any issue in terms of it routing me or it being accurate when I look back on the information on Garmin Connect and Strava. For those of you that like to ride connected, I've actually found that the Edge 130 Plus holds its connection to my mobile phone better than any other Garmin device, which I was surprised by because I expected their bigger devices to have bigger sensors. But no, this has by far been the most stable. In general, I found it to be a remarkably stable device. And at first that's because I thought it maybe did less than other devices, but honestly, that's really not true. This is a very powerful little computer that just seems to have been designed really well. In terms of battery life, Garmin claim that this device has a 12-hour battery, and I think that's probably fair. I found that I did a 100-kilometer ride and it was paired to my heart rate sensor and it drained about 40% of the device's battery. I then got 3 or 4 smaller rides afterwards, which probably took it up to about a total of 12 hours before it needed charging again. Finally, I'm going to move on to talking about the value of this device. So this costs £169.99, which is £20 more expensive than the Edge 130, which is still available to buy if you would prefer that model. I suspect it's more expensive because it gains that accelerometer, which allows it to do instant detection and all those mountain biking dynamics. And it also gets a barometric altimeter, which allows it to do the Climb Pro information and tell you how much elevation you've gained and all of that information. It is substantially more expensive than options from Cat Eye or Lesign, which do come in much cheaper. And as an entry point, because bear in mind this and the Edge 130 are Garmin's entry-level models, it is quite steep. At £169.99, it is a really considered purchase. But if you actually consider what this device can do, that includes giving you training information and helping you get fitter, if that's what you need from a computer. It can navigate you, if that's what you need for a computer. And also, it's just all housed in a really neat and tidy little design. I think it's really versatile, and I think it offers a huge amount of value to the user. It will be as happy sitting on your commuter bike, ticking away the kilometers each morning and evening as it will be recording a 100-kilometer ride on the weekend. Maybe if you're an intrepid rider who goes somewhere they don't know and like to get a bit lost, and you'd maybe be better off opting for one of the bigger devices with their bigger screens. But for light and navigational duties, the turn-by-turn prompts given to you by this thing are really very good. It's a shame it doesn't come with an out-front mount. That does knock its value that little bit because you'll have to go and source that elsewhere. But honestly, for the majority of bike riders, this little device would be absolutely perfect. So there you go. That is my review of the Garmin Edge 130 Plus. It costs £169.99 and I rate it very highly. If you have any questions about this or any other cycling computers, then do leave them in the comments section below. To keep up to date with our latest releases and more versus pieces and reviews of the latest and greatest cycling computers, don't forget to subscribe to the Cycling Weekly channel, and I'll be back soon with some more great content. I'll see you then.